What's going on, Godzirra Nation? This is Arghgodzirra. We are back with some more Arghgodzirra'S footy tipping competition, and we're looking ahead to round 18 action. Thank you for joining me as always. A lot hangs in the balance over the next 6 weeks. There are teams that are clinging to a chance to play finals while others are looking to further cement their spot. There are some big games this weekend where a lot of movement could go down and a lot of positions can be shifted. And we're kicking it off on Friday night at Adelaide Oval with Adelaide hosting Essendon. 7th plays 8th. A win for either team further cements their chances, while a loss puts them back a step while other teams are still knocking on the door. Huge game. 50-50 ball game in my opinion. Essendon could rock up and do some big things. However, I feel Adelaide, coming off of the win they had last week against the Gold Coast, way too big a momentum swing for Adelaide to just come home and give up on. I feel Adelaide are going to get it done by about 26 points. It'll be relatively close, but I think Adelaide are going to further cement their finals push. I had Adelaide finishing in the top 8 this year. I had Essendon just missing the top 8, and I think this is where that shift starts to happen. So Adelaide for me to kick off action Friday night. Saturday afternoon at the MCG, we have Richmond hosting Port Adelaide. Absolutely huge game. Was at the game last week, saw Richmond take on GWS. Was very saddening to see Stephen Coniglio go down for the GWS Giants. But it's great to see the Richmond outfit up and about. In a couple of weeks' time, we're looking at having some even bigger names return with the likes of Caddy, Toby Nankervis, even possibly having Marley and Pickett, our pre-season draft selection. Not our pre-season, our mid-season rather, come into the mix, and I'm very excited to see where he slots in. Port Adelaide, however, big touch-up by Brisbane last week. They're going to look to bounce back, but I think Richmond are in too good a form at the moment to be knocked off. I'm locking in Richmond, however, the Grim Reaper is making their presence felt early because it's now time for a segment we like to call the Touch of Death. Grim Reaper has the scythe ready, ladies and gentlemen. It has swung hard, and he has broken my heart because the Grim Reaper, for whatever reason this week, feels that Richmond are going to be upset at the MCG and Port Adelaide are going to run home with a big win. They've even gone on record to say that they think the game is going to be over at half-time. Port Adelaide's going to have too big of a lead within the first half that Richmond aren't going to be able to chase it. The Grim Reaper locking in Port Adelaide for the win. I'm locking in Richmond. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think the Reaper is on the money, because let's not remember, ladies and gentlemen, the Reaper tipped the Gold Coast Suns, not GWS, the Gold Coast Suns last week to get up over Adelaide. So, bit of the hashish getting passed on in the underworld, if you ask me. Anyway, let's leave that game aside. We move on to Marvel Stadium, just up around the corner, a couple of U-turns. Carlton hosting the Gold Coast Suns. Quite simple here, really. 17th plays 18th. Carlton, for me, getting the job done. Huge win last weekend. Very big win. It was a win that I didn't foresee coming, but I should have. Patrick Cripps coming back into the team. Absolute bull. He is a phenomenal player. He willed Carlton across the line last week, and they're going to get it done quite comfortably against the Gold Coast this week. Gold Coast started the year, could have potentially been 5-0. It is harsh to think that in the last 2 weeks, they have conceded over 300 points combined to 2 opposition teams. Both teams winning by over 90 points. It's not going to get that ugly, I don't think, this weekend. But Carlton are going to win quite comfortably for me at Marvel on Saturday afternoon. We then head over to Giants Stadium. GWS Giants taking on Collingwood. Surprisingly, GWS coming into this game favourite, even though they're not going to have Josh Kelly, they're not going to have Stephen Coniglio, and Collingwood coming off of the back of a huge upset win over West Coast last week. I have never been invested in a game as much as I was watching Collingwood and West Coast. 2 teams I do not support. I had no emotional bearing on the game, but I was on the edge of my seat right up until the final siren. It was a classic game to watch, an absolute belter. This game is a 50-50, and it has a lot of bearing, because if Collingwood win, they further cement a top 4 spot. If GWS win, there's still a chance to finish in the top 4 as well. But if GWS lose, that opens the door for them to slip out and possibly leave the top 8. I need to check the ladder to make sure, but it could see an imminent exit from the top 8 if they do lose. It's hard to believe GWS are favourite going into this game. I think the home ground advantage is definitely paid to that fact. I am going to back Collingwood to travel to Giants Stadium and cause an upset over the Giants. Even with Lachie Whitfield in that centre, the centre square for GWS, I feel Collingwood's class is going to be a little bit too much to deal with. They've been a lot more impressive over the last few weeks, and I think they're going to get the job done in a very close game. I don't know how I feel about that pick, but I'm locking it in. Collingwood for me at Giants Stadium Saturday. We then go up to the Gabba, Brisbane hosting North Melbourne. Brisbane coming off of a huge win against Port Adelaide, and this kicks off a string of games played at the Gabba that they should lock up, and they could potentially lock away a top 4 finish. That would be absolutely monumental for the club. North Melbourne, however, they've been playing some very good football. They had it pinched from them last week in a very close game, and I really don't know which way this is going to swing. As much as I want to back Brisbane at home, North Melbourne could get up and win here. I'm going to back Brisbane. I am going to back Brisbane. They should get the job done. However, North Melbourne, don't rule them out. I think there's still a red-hot chance here. But for me, I'm going to lock in the Lions. And Saturday afternoon finishes at Optus Stadium with Fremantle taking on Sydney. Fremantle, let's not even start about how their year has gone. Sydney, the last couple of weeks, have lost some games. Valiant efforts, but still not good enough to fall over the line. Both teams, I think, just fall short of playing finals this year. It's a hard one, this one, because even though Fremantle go in as heavy favourites, Sydney are a chance. Oh God, this week is actually very tough, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very curious to see who everyone else is going to be locking in. For me, let's make the call. I'm rolling the dice here. Let's go with Fremantle. I'm going to lock in Fremantle. Sydney can get it done, and they should, because George Hewitt should be able to lock down players like Nat Fyfe, Michael Walters. But I just feel it's those players like Nat Fyfe and Michael Walters that are going to will Fremantle over the line. Yeah, lock it in. Fremantle for me to round out action Saturday afternoon. 3 games on Sunday. The first is an absolute belter. MCG, Geelong, Hawthorn. First v11. Hawthorn getting a win here keeps their chances alive for a finals appearance. Geelong winning here not only further cements a top 2 finish, but it pushes Hawthorn's chances to a very slim chance. Both with a lot to gain in this game. I'm backing Geelong. They have been the best team all year. They got back into form against St Kilda last week. But don't rule out Hawthorn pulling off something big. Even though Geelong are heavy favourites to win this, never rule out the Hawks. The Hawks and Geelong, they have had huge clashes over the years, some of which have come down to under a kick. Could be the case this weekend, but for me, I'm locking in Geelong. TIO Traeger Stadium, neutral ground, Melbourne, West Coast Eagles. This is a huge game. Eagles looking to lock up a top 4 spot. Melbourne looking for a bit of respect. That's all what they're pretty much playing for at this point in time. Melbourne here, and I can picture it happening, can rock up and roll West Coast. That would put a big shake through the top 8, because if they lose and Richmond get up and win, they can overtake them for a top 4 spot, and the Eagles push down the ladder. Oh, this is another game where I feel I should choose West Coast. The smart thing is to choose West Coast, but Melbourne here have the opportunity to come and cause an upset. I think they can. And I think they will. I'm going to go with a very contentious call. I'm going to lock in Melbourne to defeat West Coast at TIO Traeger Stadium. Big call. Big call. You'd think I was the Grim Reaper making a call like that, but I've got to go with my gut sometimes, ladies and gentlemen. In all other tipping platforms, I probably will go West Coast, but for this tipping platform, I'm going with Melbourne. Let's do something a little bit different to shake things up in this piece. But finishing round 18, we're down at Marvel Stadium, St Kilda versus the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs get up and win, and they're going to continue pushing for a top 8 finish. I feel out of the teams that are currently not in the 8, Bulldogs have the better chance of finishing inside it. They're 10th, currently sitting behind Port Power, and forced out of the top 8 by both Adelaide and Essendon. I feel out of those 4 teams, the Bulldogs have been playing the better brand of football. I really think they're going to push for a top 8 finish this year, and they're going to get a comfortable win over St Kilda on Sunday afternoon. So that wraps up my tips for the weekend. Here's how they're looking. Over for a little bit of a recap. We are looking at going with Adelaide, Richmond, Carlton, Collingwood, Brisbane, Fremantle, Geelong, Melbourne, Melbourne, and the Bulldogs. Don't forget to get your tips in the comment section down below. If you check the description, the selections from last week have been added to the tally for this week. Brandon King still sitting comfortably on top. There is a bit of a chase down, however, because Brandon King again missed tips for the week, which is opening the door for players like myself and for Project Zeyta to really cause a bit of damage. Blufy and some cripple hanging around the mix as well as vCrimsoNHD making some big moves. Very good work by a lot of people. I seriously cannot thank you guys enough for getting behind this initiative. That wraps up another video. Thank you for joining me as always, guys. Be sure to leave a like on the video. It goes a long way to supporting myself, and I cannot thank you guys enough for all that support. If you're new to the channel and gameplays are your thing, plenty of stuff to check out. I urge you to do so. If you enjoy what I'm throwing down, hit that subscribe button. Pledge your allegiance to the Godzirra Nation. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.